For me, I call myself a former Marine because I needed at some point to transition from what I was doing in the military to where I want to be and where I want to go. And I will never forget the things I've done in the military and the things it's taught me. Pretty much made me into a man who I am today, teaching me accountability, adaptability, flexibility, and just grit.
I love the evolution of who you continue to be. I think that the greatest gift that we can give ourselves is to allow our future self to be our superhero.
That's 100% true.
Don, what's good, brother?
What's going on, man? Thank you for having me on the show.
Always love connecting with you, man, you know? Absolutely. You know, so yesterday, pretty cool story is that I connected with one of my mentors last night, and he's a big name. He's actually a pastor, but he's also a life coach to a bunch of A-celebrity or A-list celebrities. So we're talking guys like Kanye and Robert Downey Jr.,
Wow.
Oprah, and I got to be on his show. But right before that, right, the question was like, hey, send me your bio real quick. And I started scrambling because I was like, I haven't updated my bio in so long. Like, I don't even know how to introduce myself. So I had to come up with something unique, and I did. And so my question for you is, how would you today, like how would you introduce yourself to the world today?
Oh, wow, that's a deep question. But I mean, I guess I have some history in the military, and then I'm a student now as well. I'm also an entrepreneur, starting my own business. So I guess in what kind of setting, it depends on how I would introduce myself. If it was like friends and family, I would just introduce myself as Don. Hey, how you doing? Keep it nice and simple. But if it was in a professional environment, maybe in a business or in a school environment, of course, and give them a little bit more background on where I came from and why I'm there.
So if because obviously you and I are friends, mm-hmm. and if I were to go to our friend's house and I was like, yo, this is Don, just tell him who you are, then how would you say that?
I would say, hi, I'm Don. Nice to meet you. And yeah, we keep it simple as that, and then let them get to know me instead of kind of spilling out my resume. And
why is it important for you not to spill out your resume right away?
I think that, at certain times, a lot of notions come with the kind of experience or the past that you've had. And I don't want that to be influenced on how they think of me now. Because people change throughout their lives, people grow, people gain experience, people become better. They might become worse, but the goal is to become better. And I want to keep it that way and keep it real, keep it fresh.
I like that. However, now when people see like your name and they Google you or they look you up on Instagram, what would most people see about you?
They would see a little bit of my military background for sure, but a lot of things I'm doing now, which is the two companies that I started with, 3 now, we're starting a new one as well, but going into some of we always call it the game, the training, and then the mindset. So the game is the Underwater Torpedo League, and then Deep End Fitness is the training side of it, where we do a lot of underwater work, breath work, and kind of incorporate it with some functional fitness stuff. And then now we're creating a company called Free Your Mind, which is a mindset training, getting people focused, eliminating drag in their life, and helping them increase flow and reduce the drag that's in their lives. So
when you say free your mind, are you under the assumption that a lot of people are stuck with their mindset?
I think that people don't have the growth mindset to start with, that they're kind of raised in their own environment. And if they're kind of stuck within their own environment, say like I grew up in Long Beach and I stayed in Long Beach my entire life. I see a lot of that because I still live in Long Beach, and I see a lot of my friends that never got out of Long Beach and they're still doing the same thing. So they don't have that mindset where they're like, oh, I want to learn new things. Things are happening to me is an opportunity for me to learn. Instead, they look at it like, hey, man, this is a shitty thing that's happening to me. The big man's trying to keep me down. Gentrification's happening in Long Beach. You're kicking me out of my house. But for me, it's opportunity. And I see that I was like, wow, where do I need to go to become someone that maybe owns this building or someone that is influencing the community for the better in that area, instead of seeing like some rich guy trying to kick us out of that area or some corporation. So
yeah, I think that concept is so important, bro, because you and I come from the gym industry, like where we allow people to experience breakthroughs with their mind and their body. And it's to me, I find it so interesting that we use the word mindset, right? Because if you chop those two words, mindset, it's like you're set in the mind. But what we're trying to do is grow and free your mind, like what you say you're about to launch your company, to allow people to free their minds so that they can experience new possibilities, new realms, new opportunities for them to tap into.
Exactly. And it's just how you perceive and bring in that information and then kind of put it in your head and then spew it back out into the world. So we always say free your mind. So it's based off an acronym. So in the military, everything's based off an acronym, right? It's like a set number of letters that correlates with a word, right? So free for us is FREE, and the F stands for focus. So like the mental focus we need to have when we need to focus on something, eliminate distractions. When we're like, if I'm doing homework, can't let my phone blow up from text messages or Instagram notifications all the time, because that's what you're going to want to do. It's like an instant dopamine feed. So people kind of drive into that. And then the R stands for relaxation. So I always try to do a quick check of like how stressed out I am. And then earlier you talked about, was I nervous going into this conversation? And I was like, hey, I'm not. I'm around some homies right now. And it's going to be a great conversation, and we know each other from the past already, and we always have a great vibe. So I know that I'm going to be relaxed coming into this situation. Then the first E is economy of motion. So just trying to eliminate all the drag in your life and increase the flow from your daily activities, or where the concept actually came from for us was whenever we're shooting on the range, right? It's always about how fast can you draw your pistol or your rifle and present it to the enemy without bringing in so many extra movements. Right, so to minimize the time down, to minimize the drag, and then present your weapon at the right amount of time with the right aim, so that way you can pull the trigger if you need to. That situation. So we just took that concept and we're applying it to in the water. It's huge, right? Because when we're underwater, we want to increase as much flow as we can and reduce the drag as well, so we can go further for every action that we put into the water, into the pool. And the last E is efficient breathing, and breath is like, the power of life, right? It moves all the energy sources throughout your body. It helps you digest better. It helps you perform better as an athlete. So I feel like so many people in the world don't breathe correctly. So we're just trying to push that message out there, to take full diaphragmatic breaths, nasal breathe when you can, and increase your VO2 max and CO2 tolerance is what we're trying to figure out now.
Okay, so you uncovered a ton of information right there, and I just want to kind of break it down, because you talked about drawing your gun and being efficient with your time. You talked about underwater breathing and relaxation. Because I'm so fascinated by the development in your life and your journey, just so that our friends can understand what you're talking about right now. You said you have some military experience, and a lot of people will look you up and say, it's going to be synonymous to a Marine Raider. For those who don't know who and what a Marine Raider does, can you just briefly explain that in just a very short amount of time?
Yeah, sure. So the Marine Raiders were originated back in World War II, where it was the first special operations unit in the island hopping campaigns in the Pacific, right? Going up and down whatever Pacific islands there was out there. Got disbanded after World War II because there wasn't a need for a special operations force anymore. And now in 2006, the Secretary of Defense, Rumsfeld, or I can't remember who it was at the time, but he wanted the Marine Corps to have a special operations unit as well, right? In the Army, you have the Army Rangers, you have the Special Forces guys, the Navy, you got the SEALs, and the Air Force, you have the PJs and CCTs, and so many other different units that people don't talk about there, but they wanted the Marine Corps to have one as well. So we took a specialized unit already in the Marine Corps, which was the Force Reconnaissance guys, and then we brought them over to develop the Marine Raiders, what they call it now, which just falls under the Marine Special Operations Command, which is Marsoc. So we specialize in direct action, special reconnaissance, foreign and internal defense, and a little bit of irregular warfare, training up other partner forces to help fight their bad leaders or to create new ones.
So my guess is that when you talk about drawing guns and you're at the range, I mean, you've actually literally been on the field in real life, battling real life situations.
Yes,
right?
Yeah, I've had a few combat deployments in Iraq, Afghanistan, the Philippines, over there, yeah. Never had to draw my pistol in a gunfight though, thank God.
Yeah, thank God.
Like super close, right?
So in a context like this, if you were to, just because I'm less experienced being around people with your experience, when people share, what's the protocol? Is it for me to say thank you for serving, or do I just just thank you. Like, I never understood. I could say one thing and people could take it as a compliment. I could say something, it could be sensitive. So what's the overall kind of like, how do we respond when someone like yourself, well accomplished, you served our country, for me to listen to you, and is it okay for me to say, Don, thank you so much for your services?
Yeah, I mean, I always appreciate it. A lot of the guys don't know how to respond to it, but you should always be appreciative that someone appreciates what you're doing. But I don't think that's the main reason that most of the force goes into the military, that they're like expecting some type of gratitude or whatever that is. They join for their own specific reasons. It could be getting a citizenship, it could be getting money for college, it could be something that their family has done in the history and it's like they're trying to carry on that tradition. Or they're just trying to provide for some type of food for their family. So it just depends on what that is. But I never get offended by people saying thank you for your service. I'll say thank you for appreciating that, you know, whatever that is. But a lot of the guys, I do get offended or whatever it is, or I don't know their full situation, but sometimes people over exaggerate kind of their trauma or whatever it is as well. So that's always out there.
Hey, mad respect to you and who you are and what you've done for our country, man. You know what I mean?
Thanks, dude, yeah.
It's funny you say that because I've come across multiple times in my life where I would recognize somebody as a former military, a former Marine, you know, exactly.
Yeah.
And that person got upset at me saying, that's not former. Once you're a Marine, you're always a Marine. And he clowned on me. And I felt so dumb and I felt ashamed for even saying that. But I mean, here you are saying that, like, you even call yourself a former Marine, former Marine Raider. Yeah. So can you maybe like kind of clear that up for the general public, just so that we can just appreciate and not feel dumb when we acknowledge somebody?
Well, the Marine culture is extremely cultish and like frat boy-ish in a specific way, which I mean, I love it. That's why I joined it. That's why I go to USC, kind of that same vibes, right, a little bit. But yeah, people take it to the next level, take it too far. So they always say once a Marine, always a Marine, because they think that they're on the top-notch military service. And in some way, a lot of ways they are. But a lot of ways they're also at fault for having too much pride or whatever the situation is. And I'm always going to be proud to be a Marine. I'm always going to call myself former Marine or whatever it is. I just call myself a Marine. Actually, I don't, but some people do. But for me, I call myself a former Marine because I needed at some point to transition from what I was doing in the military to where I want to be and where I want to go. And I will never forget the things I've done in the military and the things it's taught me. Pretty much made me into a man who I am today, teaching me accountability, adaptability, flexibility, and just grit, you know, to grind through whatever work you need to do. But that portion of me is taking, I'm trying to leave some of it behind. From the mindset I had, right? And a lot of it is in the military, you have such a do as I do, not as I say. And when I asked someone to do something or someone told me to do something in the military as an order, you never really had the chance to ask why, right? And now,
it's like no questions asked.
Yeah, and sometimes no question asked. And it has its merits, right? If you're overseas and you're in a gunfight, you know, if I'm a leader and I want to tell someone to go charge that hill or go into that room and kill the bad guy or whatever it is, then I don't want them to ask why. But if I'm asking them to do another task, if I'm asking them to set a computer system up so we can get some communications back to headquarters so we can request some support or whatever, right? Yeah. I want to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And some people in the military take it too far where they say like, oh, don't ask me why, you know, just do that, what you do. Like, just do it because I'm telling you to do that. But
because of the military order, the ranking within the system.
Call it like the chain of command kind of situation. But now, like what everybody else now on the outside of the military, you know, it's, as a leader, you should always tell your people why they're doing it. You can tell them how. Yeah, transparency is huge, right? And I think Elon Musk goes into it a lot about, so Elon Musk went out and he was speaking at our Marine Corps ball, the last one right before I got out.
So you saw him live?
Saw him live.
Whew.
Yeah. Not the best public speaker in that environment. He was a little nervous, but he said like a few things that was like huge for us. And it was a room probably like 300 or 400 military people, right? And he was like, it should always be open lines of communications. So like if the guy in the lowest, like the totem pole or whatever it is, has a great idea, he should be able to express that and tell the highest level what the great idea is. Wow. And everyone in the room is like, what the fuck, you know, in the military. But I was like, that should be, like, maybe it's not the best way just to go up and approach him and do that. There should be a process somehow in the system to get those good ideas out there, especially in the special operations community where you have to do so much outside the box thinking and you're fighting in a non-conventional way. So that should be there. So
dude,
now in my company, I try to do that as much as possible. We're a small team right now, but whatever communications you have, you need to tell me. It's easy to text right now because we're a team of 6 people, but try to keep that in every culture moving forward as well.
I love that, man. And the transparency is key, and also being open to hearing ideas, whether it's for the highest person from the lowest person. I love that you say that, because even when you take in the story of Elon Musk, right? Right now, most people know him as Tesla, but not too many people realize that he was also the founder of PayPal.
That's right.
No one talks about PayPal. And that was a 9-figure exit for that guy, but that was over a decade ago. Does he ever go around and say, hey guys, my name is Elon Musk, I'm the founder of PayPal? No one does, right? And it goes to show you that even within, for example, the military culture, where people are holding on to their old narratives, holding on to their oldest stories, 30 years later, removed from the military, they still act like a sergeant. I'm not clowning right now, I'm showing all respect.
I totally get
but what
it.
I'm saying is that had everyone been more like Elon Musk, where like, you know what, for a decade, I used to talk about how I was in a rock band and that my wife and I got televised on the Oprah Winfrey Network. And that was my story. And I held on to that for so long until I realized, listen, man, we have so many more new stories to tell. And I'm ready to move away from these old narratives so I could clear space and create a greater future for ourselves.
Yes.
And that's what you've done, because you mentioned you go to USC. So for those who are listening, he's not a young USC student, right? You've been deployed twice. You've traveled overseas. You fought overseas twice. Then you came back. You became a fitness trainer just because it made sense. That's what you're good at. That's what you love to do. And then in the meantime, that's where you and I were exchanging amazing vibes at the gym as private personal trainers. Little did I know that you were building an empire on the side. I had no idea, because I would just see you at the gym, right? Say, what's up, Don? How you doing, man? We're doing our thing, making our money, training people. Little did I know that you're building an empire right now. So that is just a testament to that mind growth that you were mentioning earlier, being open to new stories, creating that, right? Letting go of the old stories that's not as part of you, but it's not you anymore. And you want to tap into your greater future self. And so I love the evolution of who you continue to be. I think that the greatest gift that we can give ourselves is to allow our future self to be our superhero.
That's 100% true. And there's a lot of people doing that out there right now. So there's a lot of like role models for people to follow. So that's a great space to do that now, especially when we have all the information in the world to do anything.
Totally. So that said, Don, from the military to going into the fitness space, and now you said you started 3 companies. A lot of people want to just stick to starting one, right? But because of your ability and your amazing team, you've been able to parlay all of your information, your experiences, and your expertise into 3 companies, all related. So that, you being back in the days when you were a Marine Raider, you're also a water survival specialist. That parlayed into what you do now, which is Deep End Fitness. So for those who don't know, Deep End Fitness is like a fitness training program. You said it's the game.
Oh,
that's the training. That's the training, right?
Yeah.
And if you guys could just imagine, like, I'm a jiu-jitsu practitioner. I used to do CrossFit. I still train. But imagine fusing those two, but you do it underwater while holding your breath. Yeah. There's a lot of things firing up, right? As a fight or flight mechanism. And so can you just briefly explain what Deep End Fitness is all about?
Yeah, so it started, so when I was a water survival instructor, I was working at a pool and we had access to like an old jailhouse kind of gym set on the side of the pool, rusted weights and stuff like that. So went through the water survival school and I was like, oh, there's some jailhouse weights, let's combine the two. So that's how kind of Deep End Fitness started. Pretty much just incorporating functional fitness movements on the side of the pool, as well as the underwater stuff, which really pushes the athlete's mental capacity on how much you can handle underwater, right? So you just talked about the kind of the fight or flight response, right? And we're mammals, so when we go underwater, we have that million dive reflex that goes off that tells us, hey, we need air. And that's why people kind of stress out a lot more in the water and they're scared of drowning, because they're not fully aware of what their body can do, as well as they're not confident in that kind of situation. So being underwater when we hit that mammalian dive reflex, right, that fight or flight going off, and we understand our body well enough to stay in the fight for a little bit longer, kind of builds a catalyst to us, because there's chemicals firing off in our brain that's in a stressful situation, just like it is on land if we're about to get in a fight, or we're about to get in a gunfight, or if you're a firefighter about to run into a building, or just a UFC fighter about to get in a fight. Like, hey, I know I'm about to get hit right now, like, but I choose to stay in that fight and I choose to continue to do that. It kind of builds a catalyst for all these other situations when we do it underwater all the time. So that's the kind of biggest selling point that we have with Deep End Fitness side, besides all the other functional water confidence, besides all the increased VO2 max, and as well as low impact kind of training environment for everybody. So I think that we have an amazing different program out there, and that's what Deep End Fitness is. And you're talking about a little bit jiu-jitsu in the water as well, and that's the Underwater Torpedo League. So we're water survival instructors. We used to play with this toy torpedo, and we put it like kettlebells down at the bottom, the deep end of the pool, and that pool depth was 15 feet. So a little bit deeper than all the pools that we train at now, but put kettlebells down there, and we would just grapple each other, try to get that torpedo and hold on to that kettlebell for like 3 seconds or whatever it was. But we just noticed that if there's like a bright flying object under the water or gliding underwater, it would take our focus and our anxieties off of the stressors of, hey, how much longer can I hold my breath for? But it puts our focus on that bright object coming across. So taking all those things, that's how we kind of created that free acronym to see how we can use that, or what was the biggest major factors that played into the type of training that we did. So that's Deep End Fitness and the Underwater Torpedo League. And then I think it was like in 2019, we were using the free acronym all the time and teaching people how to be more proficient in the water. And we were lucky enough to train some NFL guys, some pro fighters, and some surfers and Olympic athletes and stuff like that. And they're like, oh man, this free acronym is amazing in the water, but I started using it outside as well in real life. And we've always been coaching guys getting ready for the military or whatever special operations. And we do a few military prep programs throughout the year, just trying to give back and get them ready. Because when we were in that situation, it was like a sink or swim situation instead of kind of understanding the basics first. But so we've always been coaching people. So they asked us to do some coaching for them, prepare them for like the Olympic trials, like do pep talks and all this stuff. Like, hey, what was our mindset before we went into combat, and trying to put them into that mindset because they're about to go into Olympic trials. This was before they went in 2020, before we got canceled. But so that kind of environment and that mindset. So we just took that free acronym, and in the beginning of COVID, on the lockdown, we really didn't have any pools to train at. So we kind of faced it inboard and like, hey, what can we do with the things that we know and the time that we have now? So we took a chance inboard and we wrote a manual for some of our instructors and our community to push out like, hey, what is a free acronym can do for you in your regular life besides all that pool work? And we started passing it around to all our athletes and our instructors and kind of our community. And it got hold by Morgan James Publishing Company, and they gave us a book deal. So like,
wow.
Yeah. So the book releases June 1st. I should have brought it with me here today, but it releases June 1st, and we're doing a online module, a 5-week program on Kajabi, releasing a beta on June 1st too, with some of the executives that we've been training, some of the athletes we've been training, to just get some feedback first to kind of prove the concept that we're able to help a lot of people out there.
Yeah,
so that's what we want to do.
So in 1 or 2 sentences, if I were to take part in that 5-part module, like what would that allow me to do?
Yeah,
knowing who my life is, what I'm about.
It would just kind of put you like in like a business incubator program, kind of dive you into the process that you already probably know, but just give you a different perspective to think about the problem set from a little bit from our military kind of background and mindset going into it, and as well as taking some of the concepts and the business ideas that we've seen. And Prime's my partner, is amazing, but he also went to USC in the same MBA program as I did. So kind of we had that same mindset, that same language that we talk to each other with. So we're just taking that and just applying it into helping people where we can.
I love it. You guys are growing like wildfire. We have people coming in, flying all over the place to want to invest in you guys, right? And so your ideas are fascinating. You have UFC fighters who are championing you guys with the programs that you guys implement. You know, before we move forward, Going back to the days as a Marine, obviously set aside grief or sorrow from a loss of a friend or something like that. What were some of the toughest moments while you were serving?
Wow. Definitely loss of a friend,
Yeah.
right? So earlier you said I deployed twice, but I just didn't want to get that wrong information. I actually deployed overseas 6 times.
6 times?
Yeah.
I don't know where I got 2. I'm sorry.
No, it's totally cool. But I lost my friend Mike Guillory in Afghanistan. I lost my friend Jeremy Burris in Iraq. Both like we were right there together. But that's definitely the hardest thing. But besides that, it's being away from your family and your friends and feeling like you're missing out. I would definitely say it was a little bit easier back then because on my first deployment to Iraq, it was like in end of 06, and we had one satellite phone for like 40 people. So you got one 5-minute call every 2 weeks. So it was easy for you to kind of get lost out of the world. But like towards my end of my deployments in the Philippines, I was there and I had an iPhone, and we had like a satellite node that pushed satellite communications back, and some of them we were able to use for like our own personal things. So like you were able to see on Instagram, you were able to see on Facebook, and you're able to see people at home like going about their lives, progressing in their lives, and you felt like you missed out even more. Back then it was just like you got most of them were letters, and your girlfriend or at the time or whatever spray her perfume on it, and you're like, oh yeah.
You go to the secret cot to the side real quick.
Or you pimp it out. You want to smell this letter, dude? Give me that piece of bread. No.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so that's definitely the hardest part. But also that's what made me so much more appreciative of life. Every single time I came back from deployment, I'm like, man, I love America.
Yeah. Wow.
We're so blessed to be
powerful
here. Yeah. And I know things are a little crazy right now and a lot of rift between the sides or whatever that is, but we are super blessed not to actually be in any of these third world countries that are dealing with so much more.
Dude, I have so many questions regarding that. You being an Asian American in the military, did you experience racism within the military?
Of course, all the time. And here's the reason why, though. So if you think about it, we're blessed to be in Southern California, where we're like have super it's a melting pot.
Like
here,
all
right?
of us here on here are Asian.
You can get Asian food, Mexican food, Brazilian food.
Sometimes a mix of it.
Yeah, Middle Eastern food, and Indian food on the same block. And a mix of it. Yeah, fusion restaurants. Yeah. But a lot of the guys coming into the military are coming from places within the United States that don't see a lot of diversity. They might only see white or blacks, and in their community, that rift between white or blacks is not talked about, or how that is. When I was in the military, I had a lot of chances to go to the South and do a lot of training environments there where I was wearing plain clothes and stuff like that. And a lot of the times I felt safer in the black communities, and I was like doing this surveillance kind of thing, and like I was walking down the street and I had 2 role-playing cops. They were actually cops, but they were role-playing or whatever the situation was. And they were following me around, and I would walk down every single black neighborhood. I would walk down. They're like, "Hey, bro, you got some white guys following you, dude." Like
really?
Calling them out for me, So they were actually hooking me up.
Wow.
But it's just a different environment each portion of America you go to. But those are the people that join the military at 18, have been influenced by their community, their parents, whatever that is. And some of them were raised by their grandparents or whatever. And our grandparents, if they were that old, they saw real segregation back then in America. They saw that. So it's not really their fault that they're racist. But I mean, the older we get now, the more access we have to information, and the more the world's connected, it should be less of racism, right?
That's what we think.
Hopefully in that situation. But the Asian people are going through a hard time right now in America. Yeah, and it's like finally coming to light of like the things that are actually happening, what we've been experiencing. Yeah. Now it's just coming to light, right? Which is crazy.
Right.
But now we have that voice to kind of go out there and talk about it and influence people and let people see it. And I think it's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Right. The attacks are not a good thing, but the ability for the community to come together and stand up and have a voice, even though we're like 7% of America, or like a small percentage of America, but man, we didn't come here to feed off this country. we came here to bless it. We came here to empower it. We came here to do all that.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
And Don, I want to just champion you saying that you are the voice of change.
I'm trying to.
Whether you realize it or not, I mean, that's the platform that you serve. And I want to honor you, not just for your experiences, but who you continue to be and who you show up to be every single day, representing dudes like us, represent the community, represent Long Beach, represent LA, the fitness community, the personal development community. Right now, more than ever, we have to give voice to the voiceless, right? Because otherwise we lose a bit of our soul if we don't. If we just worry about getting our money, getting our Insta fame and collecting checks and just hanging out with our wives or our girlfriends all day long, we're really doing a part of a disservice. And I got called out even more, just calling out myself this past year. Like, you know what? Because I used to always think, well, if I'm going to focus on that, that's all I'm going to focus on. And then I don't want to be this activist guy, because I just want to be surrounded with positivity and good fellow human beings. And then just this past, I want to say 30 to 60, 90 days, it's hit me even more. This is why our content's even changing. It went from like this cool, like entrepreneurship type of content to let's express our being like a human being, because that's at the end of the day, that's who we are. We're a human being, right? We don't go out and try to do or be. When you say, oh, if I were to introduce myself, I'm Don. Well, technically Don is just your name. Like who you are, whether you believe it or not, like you're the world's highest form of creation. You're God's highest form of creation. And your job is to just be. We're manifesting who we are. And I think that more than ever, we need to bridge and find the empathy, compassion, understanding. It's really interesting that you identified with the blacks while you're in the military. Right now, there's more division than ever between the blacks and the Asians. And there's a subculture where we got to stick together, like Yellow Peril and Black Lives Matter getting together. And it's such a polarizing community. And so it's these types of conversations that sometimes I'm fearful of getting into. But at the same time, bro, like you and I have always stepped up to the plate, right? We've always risen to the challenge when it mattered. And that's why, for example, you and I are here in this space talking about this. Not only that, little did we know that we were in the fitness space together at one point, not knowing what the heck we were doing outside of that. And you and I happen to be sponsored by the same luxury hat company, Melon Brand, right? So just to be in that exclusive brotherhood and community where we're agents of change, where we're here to be luminaries of just being a good human being and harnessing whatever we can to do our best, obviously, to live our best life so that we can help others along the way in their journey. And that's what you guys are doing. You guys are just doing it in a much more disruptive way.
Trying to change the market. There's so much fitness things out there, so we're trying to change the game a little bit and on the mindset stuff as well.
What are some things that hamper you from attaining some of the goals that you have? For example, I know that you're growing 3 companies, but if there were no barriers, to all the endeavors that's going on in front of you, what would that look like in 1 or 2 sentences?
Wow. First off, get some more funding to grow the team and push out as much as you can. But money is not always the answer for the growth of a business, because hiring on good people and bringing the right people into the team for the right reasons and keeping that culture is, I think, the biggest challenge that people have growing any business. And now going to business school, you just learn so much more about that, right? Money is not going to ever fix the problem 100% of the time. Probably maybe 50% of the time. But if we could just grow Deep End Fitness throughout the United States first, and then push UTL out to other countries, 3 continents to be specific, so that way we can get into the Olympics.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at, dude. So you're freaking put that into existence right now, brother. Share it with, because I know I mentioned it before, and I want. It'd be a cool experience, Don, for you to be able to share that right now with this absolute confidence that's going to happen.
Yeah, we're putting everything in motion that we can right now. As soon as pools open up more, we've been talking to the Olympic Committee Board, and what we have to do is create a overarching organization in one of the continents, which is here in the United States, and it's the league. And then we need teams in more than 3 continents. So US, of course, and then Australia, got some commando buddies over there. They're going to help out with that growth over there. And then we're looking for a third continent. So all my Asian people out there and
Come on.
wherever, let's see, make it happen over there. Or we can go to Europe or whatever it is.
Yep.
Will be the next kind of step moving forward. But in 2024, the Olympics is in Paris. And then 2028 is in LA.
Hey,
right? So we already see some of the construction, right? SoFi Stadium out there got some of the Olympic money. So we're trying to make it happen. If we can get in as a demonstration sport by 2024, and then we'll try to make something happen in 2028.
Do you know usually what the turnaround time is for a sport to be birthed? And then that time that allows it to even have an opportunity to be showcased in the Olympics.
It's like 12 years or some change. We're trying to cut that by 4 years.
Yeah.
If we can. So.
And what's your mentality, knowing that what you've been through, knowing what you propagate into others with that mind growth? I don't like to say mindset anymore. It's called mind growth, right? In order to expedite that 4 years, like what would you and Prime be doing? Like what do you tell your team? What do you tell organizations? Listen, man, it usually takes 12 years. We want to cut down to 8 so that we are premiered here in LA. Like, what do you tell your team?
Yeah, for us is always understanding your why first, or the company's why and a company's mission, which is for us is to provide a positive shift in water confidence, mindset training, aquatics, fitness, and athletic competition. But just keep continuing doing what we're doing. I think we're having an amazing impact on the things that we're doing right now. And that's a goal, but that's a long-term goal, right? There's a lot of steps before that. So we're always one step at a time, moving in the right direction. If we believe in the why and we put it out there into the world, we put it out there into the universe, just like you did, and you gave me the opportunity to do that. Thank you. It's going to happen. It's going to manifest itself, but we are working towards it every day.
Why do you think it's so important to manifest it into the world? There's some people, there's teachers and coaches and mentors out there saying, don't share your dreams with people, like be silent, right? And there's like different schools of thoughts. I believe that I need to speak it into existence because it galvanizes a community to believe in you. And that's who's the universe is going to respond to your desires and your actions. But there are those who say, dude, keep your head down, don't tell anybody, and just show up one day as this crazy, a manifester of dreams and stuff like that. But can you expand maybe just on what you just shared and why that's important?
Of course, I would love to. And it all depends like what you're trying to do in the world. I mean, if you're going to be a scientist or if you want to create like the next crazy experiment or whatever that is, like a hovering aircraft or something like that, or a hovering car or something like that, you might not need a community behind you to back you up. But in the fitness world, in a world where you're trying to help other people and talk to other people, communicate with them, build their minds, their bodies, we need to talk to people. We need to tell them what we're about. We need to tell them what our dreams are. We need to get them on board. Number one, it gives them buy-in for the program, right? It gives them buy-in, like, hey, why am I doing this program? Like, what are these guys about? It gives them buy-in. It gives them belief in the program. And then that will empower so much more people around you. And when you empower other people around you, you build the strongest community ever. Yeah. And when you put that, whatever existence you want into the universe, and you with an empowered community, something good is bound to happen, bro.
Ain't lying.
Amazing's gonna happen, dude.
Dude's telling truth right here. And just even like going off just as small, it's not even little as to say, so that's my fault for saying that. You and Prime, both as co-founders of what you guys do, the fact that you guys are getting your MBA at USC, that's a pretty darn amazing community to be around as you move forward.
It is. And we're in the executive program, so everybody in the class is like way higher caliber than me. Like we got doctors, rocket scientists, lawyers, people that are trying to create their own thing. And this last weekend, we had an opportunity to meet most of the class. And although all those people are amazing, but the people that really impressed me from the conversation that I had were the people that are trying to get into a C-level suite or whatever it is that has so much ambition, so much empowerment within themselves to be something more, and that's amazing. Like, hey, you're putting yourself out there. The school is expensive, tuition's expensive for that type of program, and they're putting it all out there to risk it for something bigger, something better than themselves, to grow more within so they can make more of an impact. And maybe they're just telling me that because we're in that school environment, but I'm so blessed to have those people in my class and in my group especially. So that's amazing.
I'll say that. You just said maybe I'm in that environment where people are saying that, but wouldn't you rather be in that environment than be in an environment where like, hey, you ain't ish, bro? Like, who do you think you are?
Yeah,
it's much better to be in that environment where people are encouraging, supportive, and galvanizing so that you believe in yourself more. Your story is awesome because you grew up in Long Beach. I grew up in Gardena. That's a kind of neighboring city. There's you can obviously take it to a next level, or you could kind of stay and remain the same and be around like your high school buddies and whatnot. The fact that you came from where you came from, and I know that you had gotten into some trouble while you were in high school, and you spent some time in juvie or something like that too, right? Knowing that you've had that history into now where you are empowering a community where there are freaking NFL players involved, UFC fighters involved, who back your work, who back your training, and obviously you have your military accolades. That's a miracle in and of itself, right? And we talked about in my group last night, the miracle mentality. It just reminded me, Don, that I come from a background where we just grow up and you're happy to make $75K a year and you just play basketball with your high school friends every Thursday night. You're married with 2 kids, and you're hopefully retired by the age 70, right? To make 6 figures was like a dream or a miracle, But it just reminded me that I was once a kid who I just thought that success was making $75K a year, and to eventually prophesying what I wanted out of my future with my greatest self. Like, I always shaped who I wanted to be, right? So Kanye West, for example, as lunatic as people make him out to be, he's actually a genius. Back in the days when he was just a ghostwriter or a producer producing for other major artists, even at that time, he wasn't saying, I'm going to be the next Jay-Z, or I'm going to be the next Nas, I'm going to be the next Kool D, right? He was saying, I'm going to be the next Google. He was saying, you know what? Screw these big rappers right now. I'm going to be the next Louis Vuitton or the next Walt Disney. It's that type of mentality and dream that you have to apply yourself to in order to get to the Elon Musks. Guess who he's a billionaire now, right? Because all that time back then, he had a lot of people like clowning. Even now, like I think 2-3 years ago, he declared bankruptcy or something like that. He was like $50 million in debt, and people wrote him off. People wrote off saying, see, I told you that guy's a lunatic. But guess what, man? He came back, right? There's a process in accepting recovery and discovery at the same time. And I think both you and I are going through that phase right now, and we should be completely in awe of being able to not only go through our pains, cope through our pains, recover from our situation, and discover and create all at the same time. There's no 5-step proven plan or formula that all these gurus are talking about and selling their courses on. And I think right now is more than ever the most important time for us to say, like, hey, it's okay to be a human being. It's okay to show our pain. It's okay to share that with everybody, right? But from here, how do we build an even greater future? That starts with, I know a lot of people say you start with why, but I think it's just as important to say, how do we start with who and start with what? Who is it that you want to be? What is it that we want in life? And then the how will almost kind of take care of itself, dude.
Yeah. Wow. That's a big ask for a question, but for me, and what we kind of teach and what we kind of practice is you got to be okay yourself first in every aspect, and that's mentally, physically, and spiritually, right? If you're not healthy, you have so many other things in your mind, like you have anything. But if you work out, you eat right, you're gonna be able to fend off most things, most diseases and stuff like that, besides like some freak accident or something like that. And mentally, you got to be right in the mind as well, and that just comes with being prepared for situations, how you deal with stress, how you cope with stress, because people are always gonna have that, right? And then spiritually is last, and that's really understanding your why, where you want to go in life, why you're even here, right? And a lot for me, when I talk about spiritually and stuff like that, is I was born and raised Catholic. Well, I mean, as a kid, you just kind of went to church every Sunday, and you didn't really know why. I mean, you prayed to God, and you kind of understand the process and the history behind it. But it wasn't until like I was probably joined the military that I was like, oh man, I really need another power, another being to kind of help me out. And I've been in some situations where I'm like, oh, I have no other choice. I mean, actually growing up, I was in some, like, I remember I was on the swing one time at the park right by my house, and I was trying to do a full loop over into it, like doing a whole, like, swing as hard as I could to go over. And as soon as I went up too high, I just lost momentum and I was going straight down. And I just remember oh God, I need help. And somehow my legs got caught on the chains and it caught me before my head hit the ground. So I was like, oh man, that was like kind of my first experience. But overseas as well, like in Iraq one time, I put brand new night vision batteries into my night vision goggles. And back then it was just like one little tiny
Monocular
thing that you're looking through.
Yeah.
And we were going into a raid and there was like huge dogs out and I was like, holy shit. And it went out and I had another battery put in. My night vision still didn't work. And I was like, oh God, I'm screwed, and the dogs start barking. And as soon as dogs bark in Iraq or Afghanistan, like your gig's up, so the bad guys know you're there. So yeah, things about to go down. I'm like, oh my God, like what's going on right now? And then boom, getting small arms, but I couldn't tell if it was friendlies or my guys, and back then we'd even have a radio per each man. So I'm like, oh my God, what do I do?
You don't have a radio per each man?
Nah, not my first deployment. Yeah. Damn. Actually, on the second one, I was a squad leader, so I had one. But that one, I was like the new guy. So we didn't even have a radio.
So how do you communicate with hand signals?
Yeah, with looking through here and hand and arm signals. And my night vision wasn't working. The loom was horrible that night. So I was like, God, I need some help right now so I don't get shot by my own guys or the bad guys. Like, where am I going? And I just book it, like run as fast as I can. And I end up running into the back of one of my friends, like probably 300 meters in the dark. And this isn't just like open land. It's like through rocks and small bushes and stuff like that. So
I'm sorry. So is that monocular attached to something, or are you holding
it? Attached to my helmet. Yeah.
But it's just one eye, correct?
It's just one eye back then.
So you're opening one eye here, and then that's how you had to navigate your.
No, but my night vision went out. The battery wasn't
just running
I was running in the dark.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh my God, I hope I'm running the right way, because there was like one target building and then like a whole bunch of buildings out of it. But like, I was so scared at the time. I didn't know. I like lost my bearing. I didn't know. I was just like.
And this isn't a simulator either. This is real.
No, this is real, dude. I was 18 at the time. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to die. I'm going to get shot by my friends. But yeah, just situations like that, like when you ask for help and you really, really need it. Yeah. Like someone answered. And, so that started building my faith a lot more. And no one can do it alone, and you're in a lot of dark places in your minds where someone that you're talking to might not understand you fully, whether it's your family, friends, your spouse, or your loved ones. And you need someone that knows you fully from all the bad you've done, all the good you've done. And sometimes you can't tell people all that stuff. So that's someone to talk to. But yeah, taking that from what I've learned and what I've experienced and trying to share that with other people as well. And maybe I can be that guy that they can tell some information to that they couldn't tell anyone else before. But whatever that kind of message and that movement forward is, yeah, trying to take what I've learned and put it out. But I'm not out there trying to tell people like you need to believe in God.
No,
I'm just taking the lessons that I've learned and kind of doing it that way. If they're open to it, then I'll share it for sure.
Yeah. When you go through that situation where you literally feel like at any moment this could be my time, what are those internal conversations sounding like? I guess what I'm trying to say is, one time I was on a plane from from Tokyo to Okinawa, and Okinawans are known for their typhoons, and so they would tell us, hey, if you try to land, if there's a typhoon, there's a good chance that we're going to go back up instead of trying to land the plane.
Yeah.
And I remember doing that 8 times, try to come down, there's a typhoon, and then it would go back up. And every single time we're descending, as I said, descending, I'm thinking, okay, well, this is it. This could be it. This could be it. And I'm happy with my life. If I go today, I have no regrets. Like, what are some conversations that you would have? Obviously, yours is just more like visceral. It's right there. You hear all the 5 senses. I'm sorry. You feel all 5 senses going on at once. Like, what's that moment like for you?
When I was younger, throughout all these younger kind of situations, I pretty much like froze sometimes, or in that situation, like I lost my bearing and I was just like running forward, like praying to God and figuring like one thing is going to hopefully come out better than the other option that I was going to do. But the more I trained in the military, the more I understood like the dynamics of the situation, the more options I came up with in my head. So I was able to think about it a little bit more clearly. and develop different options. Like, hey, do I really need to die right now, or am I just accepting my fate, or is there something that I can do to kind of make the situation a little bit better? And if you come up with 2 options, you're going to pick the better one. If you come up with 3, you're going to pick the best out of the 3, and that's even a higher chance of you doing it. So even if you have a split second to try to think of something, it's a little bit better. But going into it, one time I was super scared after kind of being in special operations, it kind of taught me all those things, right? Being in more stressful environments and then them teaching you how to adapt to that. But I think it was like in 2017 or 16 or something like that, we were doing a training mission in Arizona and our helicopter crashed.
That you're in?
That was in, yeah.
So you're telling me that you're part of a helicopter crash?
Yeah, I was in it. Yeah, so it was me and my buddy Jake and one crew chief, so the guy that's hanging out on the tailgate, and there's my team, or 3 other members of my team, and then we had our foreign partner nation force that we were training, which was regular Marine guys or something like that. So they're just acting as the foreign force going over there. But the pilot sensor blew out in the front, and he couldn't see a building coming in because it was too much dirt blowing up. So the dude ran into a building.
The helicopter
ran into the building.
Or flew into a building.
Flew into a building. Yeah. So when he flew into the building, of course, it's suspense in the air. So the top rotors dug into the ground up front, or it was spinning into the ground. So the back of the helicopter was like boom, boom, boom. So it was me and my buddy Jake and that crew chief were unhooked, because when we get the 30-second call, we unhook and then we prep for the ramp. And it was my job to make sure the ramp went down okay, and then everybody was going off okay. So then the tail rotor was jumping off so hard back and forth, it literally broke off of the helicopter and it flew off. The top rotor flew off somewhere else. And at that moment, I pissed myself a little bit, dude. I'm not gonna lie, because there was nothing I could do. I was bouncing up and down so hard, dude. I was hitting my head, come back down the ground, hit my head, going back down the ground. So I didn't know what to do in that situation. I couldn't come up with other ones. But so there's always those situations as well. But in that moment, I was like, God, if I have to go right now, I love you and thank you for everything. And I was like, if I can say that at least before you go, then you're going to be okay, you know? And I mean, doesn't mean live a bad life and then go into that situation, but you have to have lived a good life or try to do good. But I felt like at that moment, if I said that and I got that out, then, I was at least going to see God, whether he made the decision or not, but at least get to see him.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. And obviously, like we didn't try to make this a God-centered episode or anything like that, but I think it's such a beautiful narrative of how you perceive the journey, and now you've escaped death multiple times, and it's evident that you live your life not just in deep appreciation and gratitude, but with this notion of I want to help as many people as I can, and that's what you're doing. It's just so awesome that everything that you do right now, at least vocationally, and the purpose of how you've really created your ecosystem is through water, right? And water is such a phenomenal thing. Water is beautiful because it just is. Not because we drink it and we take internal showers through drinking water, and then we use it externally to wash our body. And then when we go to the ocean, it's such a beautiful scenery. Water is dope because it just is, right? And obviously you and I being Asian American, we all know who Bruce Lee is, and Bruce Lee sermonized the importance of be like water to a point where everyone knows about that now. It's like, oh man, be like Bruce Lee, be like water, my friend. And we all know that famous clip that everyone's seeing on YouTube.
Yeah.
What is your personal take on water? Because your whole thing is water. What's your personal take on be like water?
Yeah. So, I mean, in the saying, it goes like, if it's in a cup, then be the cup. If it's in a bottle, be in the bottle. But, if it's a storm or a wave, you got to kind of flow with the motion. There's no way you can stop that flow or the motion. That's just like in life. Sometimes you can put yourself into situations where you can be molded. But there's a lot of other times when a lot of things are coming your way and you can't control that. But you got to go with the flow. You got to take it for what you can, mold it, maybe put it into a stream, put it into a river, put it into a canal, and make that energy flow the right way where you can. But you don't always have that situation. But yeah, I love being in the water. Sometimes it's super scary to be in the water, right? I remember I got out of active duty and then I went over to 4th Force Reconnaissance and Reservist unit out there, and we were doing some training missions in Hawaii on the North Shore. And I was like, oh, no problem, you know, I can jump into the North Shore, I can swim that. And it was like a 700-meter swim in. And dude, I was like, holy shit.
In the ocean?
In the ocean.
700 meters in the ocean?
In the ocean,
How far is that, 700 meters?
That's about half a mile.
All right.
Yeah, and they dropped us off on the boats, and the role was a scout swimmer. So you go in, you swim in with a few dudes, and then you make sure the beach is okay before they land the boat. But being in the reserve unit, they weren't as experienced as it was, and they're like, "Oh, you're a Marine Raider, you could do that shit." Like, dude, I'm like, "Oh, fuck yeah, I could do that shit." But that was not a good decision. No matter how good of a swimmer you are, you know, I've been in the water for a long time now, but even in that situation, it was scary for sure. And every single time you came up, there was like a white cap on top of you, so you couldn't take a full breath in, and it was just.
Are you geared up too?
Yeah, you're geared up. We had fins on. We had snorkels and everything like that, but the snorkels are old school, so they didn't have the top cover, so all the water was going in the snorkel. So you're like, oh, that was the salt water. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that was the wrong breath. So you constantly have to blow out to get that air coming back in, or was it even worth using it? You know? Just going through all that stuff. But yeah, man, you can't always control the water. Same thing as like, you just can't control all the force that's coming at you in life, man. Sometimes you just got to ride the wave when you can, and then sometimes you can mold it when you can, and you just got to flow with it and go with it.
Yeah, you shared one time with me, we're having a personal conversation about the skateboard that you have.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Can you share about that real quick?
Yeah, I have this Supreme Bruce Lee skate deck on top of my desk. And it's just a portrait of Bruce Lee. But on the back, I wrote a quote on there. It says, one of Bruce Lee's quotes, of course, it says, "Don't pray for an easy life, pray for the strength to endure a difficult one." And then I put that up there because whenever it reminds me of like when I'm studying, I'm doing work, and I get lazy and I don't want to do it, and I can look up there and I got Bruce Lee, one of my idols, you know, and I got this powerful quote in the back. It says, "Don't be a bitch. Get up, do your things that you need to do," right? You asked for this life, right? And you're given this opportunity in this life to help other people. So get up and do the work. But yeah.
Don, are you a bitch?
I try not to be.
That's
dude.
cool. That's cool.
Not to be, dude.
I have a question, man. You know, what you just said was really fascinating. I'm talking about Bruce Lee and pray not for an easy life, but to be able to endure a difficult one.
Yeah.
And I resonate with that. I think a lot of it because of our upbringing and the culture that we grew up in as Asian Americans. You know, there are a lot of sacrifices being made generationally.
Yes.
And so we're taught that we have to come up to the struggle and make our point be known, and then that we've amassed any type of success because of this crazy work ethic, and we put work over everything and sacrificed all that, and that because we've overcome such difficulty, now we get to enjoy the fruits of our labor. Some people still never get over that. Yeah. In fact, AC and I were just discussing that, you know, we've been going through a season where we've been challenged by just abundance in receiving, because culturally we've been in this paradigm where we have to work so hard and endure so much suffering and sacrifice in order for us to earn a good dollar. And so it's interesting that you shared that, and I resonate with that. And recently I've been kind of conflicted and confronted by this notion that, dude, I have to do a better job of not believing so much that I have to sacrifice everything and endure so much pain and suffering in order to receive the goodness of what the universe gives. What are your thoughts when you hear that out of my words?
I agree with that for sure, that you put yourself out there, you put yourself in the world, and you're doing good, that good's going to come back on you. But the more I think about it, as well as like, you know, in business school, there was always like, hey, what's your competitive advantage? You know, and growing up in the Asian American community, that was my competitive advantage in sports, in the military, you know, because I always was willing to put out more work than the other guy. And I think it made me learn more. It made me more successful in specific things. It made me maybe even stronger and faster than some of those guys in some areas, right? Not physically, of course, but yeah, and I still kind of live by that.
Yep.
But I'm also here to kind of accept the good that comes into my life when I have that opportunity, as well as give it when I have the opportunity to put that into someone else's life as well. And even in Asian like American community, it's always like, I'm going to pay the bill kind of thing, going back and forth. But if someone wants to buy me a meal now and they have the capability to, if I at least understand that they have the capability to, I'm going to let them. I'm going to get them back next time.
Yeah.
But, it's their kind of way of kind of giving it to the world. Sometimes, even the Asians are like, wait, oh shit, are you going to let me pay that?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you offered, bro. I'll get you back next time.
It's such a foreign concept, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I just absolutely enjoy, blessing other people by paying for their food. And when people offer first, I'll be like, hey man, this guy's a little sketchy to me. Like, what does he want from me?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why am I feeling that way? Like, it's so dumb, like it's my own limited beliefs and kind of like this insecurity that I hold that I'm not giving this guy the honor of wanting to pay for me.
Yeah.
And it's just a constant reminder that our current self is always going to be limited and it's ignorant, and that every single day we have the ability to improve.
Yes.
And grow.
Always.
And little did I know, again, that based on even just the small conversations that we've had in the past, that we can open up such a deep conversation today.
Yeah.
Because now we know that we can expand, help each other out, introduce each other to some of the most amazing people that we have in our ecosystem so that we can all learn and grow and support this amazing community that we have.
Yeah.
As we land the plane, Don, I have a quick question. Like, if you were to just say, like, people, if you could repeat what I say and finish it off, okay? I'm just really curious as to how you say it. But I feel happiest when, and then fill in the blank.
I feel happiest when I'm empowering other people, for sure. I think it's our mission, like it's my mission and Prime's mission as well, but that when we were in the special operations community, it was a warrior culture, right? And a warrior culture always empowered one another, right? It was not an individual, like the samurai or, like all these other warrior cultures out there always empowered the warriors around them to be able to engage in battle with them, right? And we want the guy to our left and we want the guy to our right to be as strong as they can, as fast as they can, be as smart as they can, the best shooter or the best swordsman as they could. And now that I'm out of the military, I'm trying to bring that culture and that mindset or that growth mind
mind growth
to other people as well, and that could be in any community, right? But if we look to our left, we look to our right, and we empower those people, the community that we surround ourselves with are going to be so much better. Instead of talking down on people or being a hater for doing something better than us, we should be happy for them. We should embrace that. We should help them, and they should help us back.
Absolutely.
For sure.
So we're gonna use the law of polarity right now, okay? So we know now what makes you happy. I feel my lowest when, and then go.
Oh man. Everybody has different low moments in
Sure.
their life. So I feel my lowest. It used to be when I disappointed my family, but now I make a lot of probably decisions to like, what are you doing? But I feel the lowest when I disappoint myself sometimes. And that's like, hey, if I'm not putting enough work when I need to be, or choosing to go out and drink with my friends instead of putting in the work, or I didn't go get a workout in, right? People always say you'll never regret not working out, but you'll regret doing one. And it's the same for mine as like, hey, you'll never regret putting in the work to do something, but you'll always regret not doing it and making a bad decision to have fun or whatever it is instead of doing the right thing.
I love that, man. I love that. And when you find yourself being unkind to yourself, you're self-deprecating, and basically you become your own worst enemy. A lot of us go through that. Sometimes we wake up, we can't even face the world because we have so many negative thoughts about ourselves.
Yeah.
So when you experience that, when you say, when I put myself down, what are the language, what type of things do you say to yourself to bring yourself back up? Or are there things that you got to do in order to get to the next level?
Yeah, instantly, I'm always grateful for the things I have. And that's such an easy thing. And I have a lot of experiences where I can go back to, thank God, that I can recall like, hey, what are you grateful for? Why are you grateful for it? And I always say like, hey, this is first world problems, right? Like I'm not getting shot at right now. Like I have food that I can go eat right now. It's first world problems. And sometimes the issues and the problems that you're going through personally in your life could seem like it's such a big deal. And maybe we didn't get the investment we wanted, or maybe whatever it is. That's such a big deal to you. But when we look at all these other situations in the world, like in Israel and right now in Palestine, like there's a lot crazier shit. People are getting kicked out of their land, and that they've grown up in for like their generations and generations, and just a whole bunch of different horrible things in the world. And we just gotta be grateful for the opportunities we have, and be grateful.
Yeah.
And that's an instant reminder for me to kind of shift that focus back. But then after that, when I'm able to help someone else out, and help them get into a better situation, I'm also grateful to give them that opportunity, and it reminds me like, hey, you're actually doing something good. Keep doing what you're doing. It might not always go the right way, but you just got to keep on moving forward one step at a time.
I appreciate that so much, man. Here, our ethos, our culture, we want to cultivate a lifestyle around that. We want to master our life's work, right? We want to master our craft so that we can rise to the challenge. We could rise to the pains and still get our greatest work out into the world. What that looks like is, if I could adopt the word kaizen in Japanese, means continual improvement. We always think of like the biggest things, but yet every single day, all we have to do is improve. And what kaizen looks like is that we want to take it back to the water theme. At 211 degrees, water is really hot, right? But between 211 and 212, 212 degrees, that water starts to boil. And then when that water starts to boil, it produces like what, Don? What does it produce?
Steam.
Right, and that steam is powerful enough to push a locomotive.
That's true.
Sometimes all it takes is that 1 degree to experience that powerful breakthrough. That's my water theme. That's Kaizen. That's the culture that we're trying to create with compassion and kindness. And that's why we like to feature successful game changers like yourself, but also understand at the deepest core is that we're human beings, and we want to understand the 1 degrees every single day. And thank you for nurturing that and sharing that with us, man. I really appreciate just the journey that you and I have had, because it's been 3-4 years maybe of just, again, seeing each other at the gym every single day, not really knowing who we are to each other. And then 3-4 years later, being in this exact room talking about life, and you talking about discoveries that are going to really shape the culture of our world, hopefully in the Olympics to come. Yep. Knowing that, Don, if you have 1 minute, right? And I have 2 questions right now. Tonight, I know you're going to USC, but instead someone called you and says, you're actually going to Staples Center tonight, and you're going to give your keynote speech, okay? And you only have 1 minute to share your speech, or what you want to manifest into this world, or what message you want to give to the people. First of all, what song would you walk out to? And then second, speak to the camera, speak to me, or speak to us within that 1 minute of whatever your message is.
Wow, that's a lot of pressure, dude.
No, dude, you're the king of clutch, bro. This is who you are, right? Yeah, what you do is you're like you bring calm in the clutch. So this is your moment right here, bro.
Yeah, I mean, if I could just do it one line, I've always lived by this ever since I've been in the military. And the song, maybe Lil Wayne, what's that one? Right Above It. And
Right Above It?
Yeah. The show Ballers coming out?
Yeah,
but it's that one. All right, coming out of it, and I would just tell the world that to be humble, to be hard, and then to always push to fight.
That's dope. I can't let you go right now, because what do you mean by be hard?
Be hard, you gotta be able to withstand the kind of pressures that you put on into this world, and whatever your world is, right? And if it's be hard and being a mom or a dad, you gotta show up for your kids, be the right example for them, even though that's hard. And as well as still provide for them, even though they talk back to you or whatever that situation. That's a hard life. Being a parent's hard, but everybody goes through their own struggles. So being hard to kind of not callous yourself but to accept the things that you have to deal with and to overcome it, for sure.
Love that, man. What can we expect from you in the near future?
Man, we got a lot of things going on. We're in talks with some professional sports teams right now. So hopefully we get a big kind of into the performance center is what we're looking to do, to kind of bring all 3 aspects of what we do into performance centers around the United States. We'll just leave the names of the companies out right now, but we're working on some big projects, and hopefully I'm done with USC in a year. So it could take that knowledge and free up a little bit more time to be more out there, to be more engaged in the community with the world opening up. the Asian American community, for the military community, for the human community, right? Be out there for all of them.
So great, man. Can't let you go just yet, because what you just said right now sparked a new question. In between the time we started about an hour ago until now, what's one new thing you learned about yourself, hearing yourself out?
Man, these last questions are already hitting me different. I don't know if I'll learn exactly about myself, but I really liked what you said about what Kaizen meant to you, from the water degrees to you. You know, that's a huge thing that, hey, you might be at that finish line, but you don't even know it, right? So you just got to push a little bit further. So I always try to tell people, the people I coach and stuff, that you always want to try to go 2 obstacles deeper than what you are. Because that one obstacle in front of you might be hard, but you might be able to overcome it and go another one. You never know what you're going to find. And that's really putting in the full commitment. And a lot of people in this world now don't give full commitment to their significant other or to whatever program they're doing in. And I feel like that's a shortfall that this culture that we kind of have, because there's so many different options for so many different things. So that would be the biggest message that I'm going to remember today, to give that extra 1 degree to push it further forward.
I appreciate your time so much, man. Will you come back again and do this with us in the near future?
100%, I would love to. Thank you for having me, and thanks for the amazing crew in the back, for making this all happen. And Absolutely, thanks for inviting me out, bro. I can't wait to do it again.
Much love to you, man. Thank you so much. God bless.